This is Kira Sivertson, and she's one of the most controversial figures to ever come out of family YouTube. And no, she did not get there by accident. For those who don't know, Kira is a mother of 4 turned 5, a former teen parent turned influencer, later defined by betrayal, and a woman whose entire adult life is quite literally unfolded in front of the camera. Her story is messy, uncomfortable, and at times genuinely hard to watch. First off, she built a multi-million view family channel on the image of young love and sacrifice, only to later sit beside the father of her 4 children smiling as she calmly announced that she was the one ending their relationship. The same woman who admitted on camera to getting close to another man while still insisting nothing inappropriate happened. The same woman who started a graphic podcast with her best friend, hired that friend's fiancé to work behind the scenes, and then later married him herself. Yes, that fiancé, the nanny's fiancé, the best friend's partner. It's also confusing. The worst part is that she would go on to deny wrongdoing, then quietly change timelines. She would say she needed to be alone, then never actually be alone. Say another pregnancy could be dangerous, which led to her husband getting a vasectomy, then celebrate a new one anyway with a different man. She would say she values privacy, then continue to overshare every detail of everyone else's life except when it implicates her. But the most disturbing part is not the alleged betrayal or the relationship fallout, it's the pattern in which other people are left holding the damage. A former friend who disappeared for years before returning with a public accusation and a fundraiser to cover up tattoos tied to that friendship. A former partner who spirals quietly before rebuilding his life off camera, and children who grew up as content before they were old enough to understand what that meant. This is a story about what happens when your entire identity is built online, and the truth starts slipping through the edits. Kira Sivertson and Oscar Morales met as high school sweethearts, teenagers navigating first love before adulthood ever really began. The relationship formed long before careers, stability, or independence. And by 2015, they were already facing life-altering decisions together. That same year, Kira became pregnant as a teenager. And instead of stepping away from the spotlight, the couple made a choice that would define the rest of their lives. They decided to document their experience publicly, turning a deeply personal situation into content. Out of that decision came the launch of the OKbaby YouTube channel in 2015, a platform built around teen pregnancy and young parenthood. The name itself was a combination of their initials, O as in Oscar, K as in Kira, together OKbaby. And at the center of it all were the two of them, documenting their lives with their kids for the world to watch. All the videos on the channel seemed to be deleted, but at the time of the channel's creation, the appeal was immediate. Many were drawn to the vulnerability of 2 teenagers trying to raise a child with limited money, limited support, and no real roadmap. Their videos leaned heavily on financial stress, emotional exhaustion, and the idea that they were just figuring things out as they went. That perceived authenticity is what fueled their rapid growth. Within a year, the channel was no longer a side project or a digital diary. It became their primary source of income. As more children entered the picture and views continued to climb, the line between documenting life and living for content began to blur.
Guys, Kira thinks she's pregnant, so we're about to take a little pregnancy test.
As the channel gained momentum, Kira and Oscar's personal lives accelerated alongside their online growth. Over the next several years, the couple welcomed 4 children, and each pregnancy, birth, and milestone was shared publicly. Viewers did not just hear about the family expanding, they watched it happen in real time. Hospital visits, newborn routines, sleep deprivation, financial stress, and relationship strain all became recurring elements of the channel's narrative. What began as a documentation of teen parenthood gradually transformed into a full-scale family chronicle, with the children at the center of nearly every upload. By this point, OKbaby was no longer a small YouTube diary. The channel ballooned to roughly 1.4 million subscribers, where it sits at now, each individual video pulling in millions of views. Their relationship, their home, and especially their children were now part of a monetized ecosystem that rewarded oversharing and punished silence. As the years went on, daily filming became normalized. Cameras were present during emotional moments, discipline, celebration, and breakdowns. The children were not occasional appearances, they were the core of the brand. Thumbnails, titles, and storylines increasingly revolved around them, turning childhood into content and family life into a product. The audience grew attached to the kids, watched them age, and felt invested in their development. while Kira and Oscar leaned further into the format that sustained their income and public relevance. As would become clear later, this was the moment when quiet changes behind the scenes started to take shape. Nothing looked dramatic on the surface, but control within the channel was beginning to shift. As the brand grew, Kira took on more influence over how stories were told. She guided the tone, set the direction of conversations, and increasingly determined how moments were framed, making her perspective the dominant one. Medical concerns added another layer of issues. After 4 pregnancies delivered via C-section, Kira publicly stated that doctors had warned her against carrying more children due to serious health risks.
Even if I wanted to have another one, it's not about me wanting to, it's about that I really just can't have another one. I have accepted it because that it is what it is, and I don't want to put my life at risk because I do have 4 other children that I need to be here for.
The message was clear. Another pregnancy could be dangerous, potentially life-threatening. Kira reinforced clearly that her doctor had advised she should not have more children, and that she had come to terms with that reality. She emphasized the physical toll of repeated surgeries and the responsibility she had to remain healthy for the 4 children she already had.
Are you serious about considering adoption? I definitely think we are happy with our 4 children. I feel very lucky to have the 4 that I have. I am sad I cannot have any more babies, but I definitely don't plan on having more babies in any way.
In response to this, Oscar underwent a vasectomy at just 24 years old. At the time, these statements and decisions aligned with the narrative of mutual decision-making and long-term planning. In hindsight, they also marked a period where irreversible choices were made inside a relationship that was already under internal pressure. Not long after, Hannah Hawkard entered Kira's life. This was during a period when the OKbaby household was already stretched thin. Initially hired as a nanny, Hannah quickly became more than childcare support. She was in close age to Kira, so she blended easily into the household and soon transitioned into Kira's inner circle.
They came for game night. Who's excited? Me. Whoa. What was that? I need everybody to redo that. Game night. I'm excited.
What started as a professional arrangement evolved into a personal bond, with Hannah frequently present in daily life, vlogs, and off-camera routines. Over time, she was no longer framed as staff, but as Kira's closest friend. At the same time, Hannah was in a long-term relationship of her own.
Well, you guys haven't tried it yet, but they're waiting in line. They're being polite.
She was engaged to Preston Smith, her high school sweetheart, and according to records later discussed online, there were indications that they may have already been legally married, despite presenting publicly as only engaged. Through Hannah, Preston became a regular presence around Kira and Oscar, folding into their social world with ease. The 4 of them began spending a significant amount of time together. Game nights became routine, vacations were shared, and casual hangouts were filmed and uploaded as part of the channel's content. Viewers saw the couples interacting as a tight unit, joking, cooking, celebrating, and relaxing together.
Check out who's with us. What's up, dude? Give me some. Hannah, what's up? Oh, you got the boots too. Yo!
She has them until when she dyed her hair red, I wanted to dye my hair red, and then...
At the time, there was nothing presented to suggest instability or inappropriate overlap between the friends. Everything appeared friendly, familiar, and normalized through repetition. That all continued to deepen in 2021 when Kira and Hannah launched a joint podcast titled Beneath the Sheets. The show was clearly framed as a space for open conversations about adult relationships, intimacy, and topics that went far beyond what was typically discussed on the family vlog. The branding leaned into oversharing, positioning discomfort as honesty. Behind the scenes, Preston took on a formal role in the project. He was hired as the podcast's audio engineer and technical support, which meant he was frequently present during recordings, planning sessions, and production work. His involvement was no longer social alone. The lines blurred further when Oscar and Preston were brought on as podcast guests. Episodes featuring all 4 normalized a level of intimacy that many viewers later revisited with unease.
Cute. OKbaby on YouTube, Oscar Morales.
Yep.
This is Preston.
Just Preston.
Preston, Hannah, you're supposed to give his introduction. I'm waiting for you.
Waiting for yours.
He's the behind the
This
scenes
is
man.
my not baby daddy because apparently we have some
Baby
issues
daddy.
that he doesn't want to be a baby daddy. I don't know. We're figuring it out. We've been here. He's our audio tech.
He's the one who
guy.
makes it come to life, because we can sit here and talk, but it doesn't become anything without this guy.
Without that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I apologize for everything that fucking happened in season 1. That was a show, and we were just getting off the ground, so I apologize. I really do.
Oh, wait, are you talking about season 1?
Yes, I'm talking about season 1.
yeah.
I said season 1.
I did.
Yeah.
Over the laughing over here.
Hey, did you put your hearing aids in before we started?
I forgot. Should we stop and go grab them?
Maybe.
Okay, anyways, you guys, this season is going to be fun because we have guests. And so we have juicier, we're bringing back topics from season 1 that were like kind of.
As the podcast progressed, discussions involved topics like non-traditional relationship structures and group intimacy, presented casually and without clear limits. At the time, these conversations were framed as purely conversational. In hindsight, they would be seen as early indicators of collapsing boundaries long before the fallout became public. While all of these were going on in their lives, they felt normal, wholesome even. As far as everyone was concerned, OKbaby had officially become a full-on family channel. Oscar and Kira, the kids, the house, the routines, it now felt locked in. But Kira didn't just want to play house anymore. Kira wanted more.
I'm trying to say is, we already have our life together. We already own a house together. We have all this commitment together. We have kids together, you know what I mean?
What is the point of having a piece of paper tell us
That we're married.
We want
gonna
to
do for us.
celebrate our love.
Getting financially stable is more important than a ceremony.
And I agree. However, I do not want to be engaged for 5-10 years. There's no way I will be.
Sucks to suck. I didn't want to move into this
It
house.
sucks for you because if I'm not married in 5 years, my booty is out of here.
Oh, don't threaten me with a good time, babe.
I will go find myself somebody who wants to marry me today.
You promise?
Baby, that was not nice. That was mean. I didn't like that. I would never leave, but I'm not going to be engaged for 5 to 10 years.
I know.
She framed it as a joke, but nobody really thought that sounded like a joke. She basically told him that if he wasn't going to propose, she was ready to walk away and be with someone else who would. And Oscar clearly took that seriously, because by late 2018, he popped the question.
Everything I put you through. But Kira, you are the love of my life. Oops. You are the love of my life. And I want you by my side forever.
And you would think after this, Oscar, Kira, and their little babies lived happily ever after, right? Yeah, not exactly. Because on January 7th, 2022, right at the start of the new year, OKbaby uploaded a video titled, "We Broke Up." And when you eventually watch the video, you'll see that this title wasn't just clickbait. What made it even more shocking was the timing. They'd been pretty quiet for a while, so people assumed that they were just spending time together as a family. Everything seemed calm, stable. And then, boom, this video drops, and when you actually watch it, something feels off almost immediately.
To get on camera and act like nothing is going on in the back. But at the same time, it's also hard to get on camera and say anything because what if we end up being fine and then like we just shared all that and then it just seems rocky and trashy. So it's just hard to know in that situation from a content point of view what to do, and so we made the decision just to kind of not do anything.
At first glance, this video is supposed to be them explaining their breakup together, but one thing you'll notice for the most part is that Kira is doing most of the talking. And it's not just that. There are moments where Oscar is clearly about to speak and she cuts in or talks over him like he's not even there. Now, it's true that everyone handles breakups differently. Some people joke, some people shut down, some people over-explain. But Kira doesn't just seem calm in this video, she seems almost excited. She's smiling. She even teases Oscar about the breakup. And the whole tone just feels off, especially considering what this conversation is supposed to be about.
Are you gonna cry?
No.
I might. I'm just kidding.
Oscar looked genuinely awkward during that whole announcement. It didn't feel like a mutual breakup at all. He came across reserved, almost sad, like he was still processing everything in real time. Kira, on the other hand, felt very different, almost too upbeat. So when one person looks like they're mourning the end of a family and the other seems oddly energized by it, it raises questions.
You guys did notice he was vlogging and I wasn't. At that time though, I was really sick. Yeah. And it wasn't really that bad between us at that point when you were just vlogging.
I was going through it at that point. Like I saw it coming early because I just saw the switch. So for me, I was going through it, but I was still in the denial phase. Like, no, this can't.
Watching that clip, it comes off as pretty disrespectful to Oscar. It doesn't feel like his emotions were really taken into account at all. like he barely had time to process what was happening, yet he just went along with the flow. And that's what makes it uncomfortable to watch. It feels less like a private emotional moment and more like content being made at his expense.
So
Does
crazy.
it make you feel better to say it like that? Do you feel better because it's not you?
Yeah, because I tried my ass off to make it work in the end, and
But that's
give it
the
all
thing,
him,
guys.
yeah.
If you're listening, in the end doesn't always work anymore.
Again, she cuts him off, and for some reason she always feels the need to do that. And it gets way worse when she begins talking about cheating.
Nothing happened that's like crazy and dramatic. Nobody like cheated. Nobody like.
feelings were hurt though. You did some things that hurt my feelings, but I found out later on, like a month later, that it's because you were holding these feelings inside and kind of resenting me.
But can you please clarify that I wasn't cheating?
Yeah, you weren't cheating.
People will dig into
You
that.
did a lot of things that bothered me. I wouldn't consider them full-blown cheating, but it was definitely lines
Oscar,
that
I'm
we
not
shouldn't have
keeping
crossed.
that.
All right, fine.
Now here's what doesn't quite add up. Why did Kira need Oscar to publicly confirm that she didn't cheat? Why even bring cheating into the conversation at all? Because usually when something genuinely didn't happen, you don't feel the need to clarify it, let alone have your ex explicitly state it for you. The fact that it had to be said out loud just makes the whole situation feel a little suspect. And interestingly enough, this wasn't the only non-issue that raised some eyebrows. When Oscar directly asked Kira what bothered her about a specific situation, her response was, well, this.
That situation bothers you.
It's not that situation. I just feel like once we sit here and start naming like specific things, like do we want to talk about when I had mental health issues? You were not there for me. Like we don't need to like dig into all of that.
Yeah, you're right. And I do think something like this, it's sad that it took this, but I wish I was better for you back then. Just I didn't know better. I didn't understand these things. Like I feel like I'm understanding them now, going through my own.
And again, notice the pattern. She didn't want to go into the details, yet she brought it up. Which makes you wonder, if it wasn't an issue, why does it need so much explaining? She says she doesn't want to name any issues, even though she literally just did. She brought up mental health, frames it as a serious factor, and then immediately uses it as a reason not to explain anything further. And that's confusing, because if it was important to bring it up, then why shut down any real discussion about it? It ends up feeling like she's hinting at problems without actually taking responsibility for explaining them. It's almost like, there were issues, trust me, but without giving any clarity.
This is where, for me, I knew that it wasn't something I wanted to like hold on to anymore. I knew when I, in my head, was thinking of Oscar being happy with somebody else, and that made me happier, that's when I knew I didn't want to be with you anymore. When I think of you with somebody else, and that's what I want for you, I don't think you're in love with that person.
Really?
I can't meet your adrenaline standards. I don't like the things that you like. I don't want the same things that you want. I'm not interested in the same things that you are. And I want you to have that with somebody. So why am I like selfishly hanging?
She says she's been selfishly hanging on, but hanging on since when exactly? Since the channel started, since they had their first kid, or only after they had 4 kids and a full-blown family brand built together? Because those are very different timelines. She frames the breakup as an act of selflessness, like she's setting him free for his own good. She wants him to be happy. She wants him to be with someone who isn't her, because apparently keeping him all to herself would just be too selfish. Someone also said, wasn't there some issue a while ago that Oscar wouldn't marry her? Now she's engaged and is leaving. The whole situation is off. And truly it does, but then things get even more interesting. Oscar later reveals that in the month leading up to the breakup, she was actually mean to him, and he confronted her about it and straight up asked why she was treating him that way.
So what triggered you to be so mean though this last month?
Subconsciously, I really was like self-sabotaging almost, or like trying to get you to break up with me so it wasn't me. I don't even know. But like I was being mean because I was just angry. I also felt like I was lying to you, and that's not my personality. Like as soon as I decide something, you know that. Like I want to say it.
What this really shows is that she was already done with the relationship long before Oscar had even processed that something was wrong. Oscar seemed genuinely blindsided, thinking the only issue was that she had been mean or distant, which in hindsight must have been a sign that she was already emotionally checked out. She was impatient, tired of waiting for Oscar to be the one to pull the plug. So instead of breaking things off directly, she pushed the situation in a way that forced the outcome while still positioning herself so she wouldn't look like the villain. And that's the part that makes this whole situation feel so unsettling.
For me, it felt like forever, because this has been happening since like late November. So for me, it's felt like forever, but in the grand scheme of things, this all happened fast. And it's kind of crazy, like...
I think a little bit, this is where we differ. In my mind, things have been happening for like a year.
Really?
Oscar is clearly caught off guard by this. For almost an entire year, he'd been living with someone who felt like a stranger, and he didn't even realize she had fallen out of a love song before this video was recorded. She kept it to herself the whole time.
When I was like, oh, I hate this. Oh, I hate that you get so angry all the time. I hate that you throw things. I hate that this. I hate this. And like slowly over time, or like we just aren't having fun together anymore. We just like little things slowly.
Hey, but I hadn't gotten mad at all up until like late November when things were going downhill.
Oscar is clearly stunned by this whole situation. You can literally see him pausing, backtracking, and trying to make sense of everything as it unfolds, like his brain is playing catch-up with reality. Someone also said, without listening to it, I couldn't tell whether he was laughing or crying. They really need to take a break from posting. Many people agree this is a conversation that never should have happened with a camera in the room. Because the moment you hit record, it stops being private and starts becoming content. And for someone who built an entire career turning vulnerability into views, it raises an uncomfortable question. Was this really about closure? Or was it another moment where pain became something to package, upload, and profit from? At no point did anyone stop and say, maybe we should cut this part, or let's reset the camera and rehash this, or even try to make the whole situation less awkward and more watchable. Instead, what we're left with is this incredibly uncomfortable, secondhand embarrassment kind of video. And trust me, you weren't the only one who felt it. Everyone did.
I gotta talk about this. The worst breakup of all time. Is that a term I would...
Why say that to his face on camera for your audience? Like, why do that? You have sat this man down and are breaking up with him again and rubbing his nose in it like a dog who took a shit on the carpet, and you're like, hey, don't do that again. You know, like making him smell it. What is the point? You could have just said it in like a 1-minute video, like, hey, look, we broke up, it was mutual, we're fucking done, alright? The channel will go on. But instead we have a 15-minute dissertation about why she was in the right to break up with Oscar.
Or she's like, I dumped you, I cheated on you, but also like a few years ago, I was having a rough time and you weren't perfect. It's like, dude, no. That's not why y'all broke up. You don't get to be the victim. Again, I'm making assumptions. I don't know what happened.
We could list more for you, but it would take all the time we have. And that's not all from the breakup video.
We're going to be like vlogging and uploading on this channel together. We still are going to live in the same house. We still are sharing finances.
Yeah.
Like,
we're going to do taxes together. We're going to keep our money together until we taxes and figure out like, all right, what direction do we go from there?
We're just like not rushing anything.
Yeah.
It's really strange that right after telling their audience that their relationship had just ended, they immediately reassure everyone. Don't worry, you'll still be entertained. But later on, more interesting revelations are brought to light. Apparently, Oscar went to a strip bar and spent $200 without even getting the lap dance that he paid for.
Oscar went to the strip club, didn't get a lap dance, stupid. Didn't Venmo me just as much money as the stripper, stupid.
I barely threw anything, but sure.
Tell them you barely didn't and how much it was.
Okay.
You sound like an idiot. Tell them.
I was trying to underplay.
Yeah.
It was only $200.
Only? What kind of money are you making? Not any, because you're not up.
Well, you can argue that many people deal with grief differently. This story was probably brought up as a way to convince themselves and the viewers as to why they were breaking up. Apparently, she actually told him to go sleep with other people.
I was even trying to get at it, but she was telling me like, hey, I think you should sleep with someone. Like, what? First of all, I wouldn't even know how to go about that.
Like, I don't know, guys, I feel like they just like need that. Like, Oscar and I haven't slept together in some time.
It's been like a month, yeah. Like
2 months.
Yeah, that happened, and her reason, according to her, is that guys just need that. One Reddit user stated, I think she's at least entertaining the idea of someone new because of how she's pressuring Oscar to sleep with someone else and seems super happy to move on. Weird vibes. For a moment, they forget they're in front of a camera and start a small back and forth on the last time they slept together. It was so awkward, especially since Kira was ready to continue that conversation, until Oscar had to point out that some things were too much information for their audience. And while we're on the subject of sleeping together, Kira makes a hint that she might just want more kids.
That's your new person's problem, not mine, dude. For real. But yeah, that's where we're at. Vlogs are probably gonna be, like I said, like probably the same for a little bit. We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know, guys. We're just like here.
One other issue that many people failed to see was pointed out by this comment. Kira thinks it's all cute and funny. I know their kids are young, but I feel for them knowing the intimate details of their parents' separation were uploaded before the wounds had a moment to heal. Not long after the release of the initial breakup video, they released yet another video that answered some of the audience's questions on some matters such as these.
And the first thing I want to say is that, you know, Oscar and I are in a very good place. And I don't want to speak for both of us. People get very mad that I speak for both of us. You need to speak for yourself. Okay. Oscar's just like that. Oscar, I'm not like trying to talk over him or say his feelings. Like Oscar and I just express ourselves differently, and he's much.
So right off the bat, she begins to address some of the audience's concerns from the last breakup video they uploaded, clarifying that she does not talk over Oscar, even if we could see that she did. But the great takeaway from that is they're just being their authentic selves. They're not pretending. She just talks over him because she talks more than he does. He thinks while she talks. And just as expected, there were so many reactions to this video as well, but one particularly coming from Dr. Kirk Honda, who's an experienced psychotherapist. He had this to say.
She really is trying to make the point that they're happy and that they're in a good place, and she keeps trying to say, hey, say, because people aren't going to believe it if I say it and you don't. But I don't know if Oscar is 100%. Now, maybe part of what he's doing is presenting to her when they're not on camera that he's not in a bad place, but he's probably in a bad place at times. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't in a pretty bad. I should say that he reached out to me actually after the last video and said that we just had a short text exchange, and it wasn't long.
Earlier, we touched on the subject of Oscar's vasectomy, and it was yet again addressed in this video.
This one actually infuriates me. I never asked Oscar to get a vasectomy. I did not want him to get a vasectomy. I wanted more kids, and I highly encouraged he didn't get the vasectomy.
Thinking we were gonna be together forever. Not that I want any more kids or that I want other kids with other people right now. I think I made the right choice as of right now. And I think forever. I don't know.
The idea that's being painted here is that Oscar willingly got the vasectomy, but also that it's reversible. Dr. Honda's had this to say.
I think what he's saying is, well, even though when I got the vasectomy, I thought I was going to be with Kira for the rest of my life, and now that we're not going to be together, I'm not quite sure if getting the vasectomy is the best thing. But actually, I still think it is best that I got a vasectomy because I already have 4 kids, and probably wouldn't want. But I think if he was a little bit more disclosing right now, he would say, if I could take it back, I might actually. I still might get it in the future at some point, but I don't know what the future holds. I might meet someone, and that person might really want to have a kid with me and might convince me to have more kids.
The general feel of this video is way less cringe and awkward than the first one, and a bit more mature too. It seems like they took these concerns from the previous video to heart and made some improvements. This is more philosophical and delved deep into the mindset of adults, how they're finding themselves and navigating their own experiences since their breakup. It's in this vein that Oscar asks why the breakup was necessary, what led her to decide that ending things with him was the best option in that scenario, and she had this to say.
One of my biggest things is like being alone, and I think that's truly when you do find yourself is when you're put in these like critical life situations. And I feel like you said, I've been so comfortable with you that I'm not, I don't know anything outside of that, and I don't feel like
In the immediate aftermath of the January 2022 breakup announcement, the separation did not function the way most viewers expected. Rather than creating distance due to the breakup, Kira and Oscar continued filming together as if the relationship had simply shifted form rather than ended. They appeared in content side by side, still sharing space and responsibilities on camera, which blurred the reality of the breakup and gave the impression that nothing fundamental had changed. Kira did move out of the shared home, but the social structure around her remained largely intact. She stayed close to Hannah, maintaining their friendship and professional overlap through the podcast. From the outside, it appeared that Kira had exited the romantic relationship while keeping nearly every other element of her life unchanged. Oscar, meanwhile, was left adjusting to the emotional reality of the split while still participating in shared content and public appearances. And they're wearing the same outfit as their breakup video because this was filmed the same day as their breakup video. Plus, Kira still has the same perky attitude as her breakup video. In this episode of their podcast, she introduces Oscar as the ex with the biggest smile on her face.
We're not feeling lonely. We have guests. Who do we have? Who are they? Who's they?
Who are we?
Who's they? We have the ex. We have the ex.
That's gonna need an explanation.
No, it doesn't. That's the ex.
You can only imagine how awkward that episode will be, given how awkward the actual breakup video was. No family's perfect, but at least not all families come to air their dirty laundry online like Oscar and Kira did. As time goes on, we can see the former couple begin to grow apart more and more. Kira and Oscar begin to upload their own different videos. Kira finds a new apartment and moves there. Oscar's with the kids and navigating being a dad without a constant mother in their lives. Many people have their own theories as to what's going on. Some believe Kira has someone else. Others just think making any assumptions can be dangerous. Someone else writes, "There's something about this that makes me uncomfortable." From the breakup video to her documenting her family falling apart for views, to her getting a new apartment within the space of weeks, she's irresponsible and setting a bad example for her children. I don't doubt that Oscar may be partly to blame as much as her, but something about her doesn't add up. If she suddenly regretted the past 7 years and wants to be single again. That perception intensified dramatically in spring 2022 when a whistleblower contacted the Dad Challenge podcast with allegations that reframed the entire timeline. The individual claimed to have encountered Kira and Preston together in Las Vegas and alleged that the two propositioned her for a group encounter.
I mean, I'm not going to be telling you what her name is. She doesn't want to be on camera. She doesn't want her name out there. But she said, look, how do I say this? I need to tell you something. I had a threesome with Preston and Kira. And I said, Preston and Kira, like from OKbaby? She's like, yes. And then started talking a little bit. And I'm not going to share our conversations, but she basically said, yeah, I was in Vegas. I was approached on Bumble by Preston, and Preston said, hey, are you interested in read my profile. I'm only interested in, and doing threesomes with my partner. Right. And so I asked this person, are you sure it's not Hannah, this girl, Hannah, that Preston was dating? And she's like, no, it absolutely wasn't Hannah.
Hold up, Preston? This guy? Preston is Hannah's husband. Hannah is Kira's best friend. So this suggests that Kira had a threesome with her best friend's husband. Now, what's most striking is that no one could see any form of chemistry between Kira and Preston, and it seemed they merely acknowledged each other's presence as the husband of my best friend or the best friend of my wife. But besides that, there was no on-screen romance or even a hint of anything more than a cordial relationship. The whistleblower provided what was described as corroborating material, including Bumble messages, hotel-related photos, and phone number verification meant to establish authenticity.
Preston on Bumble sent this to my source. Says, hi, did you read profile? Yes. You interested? We are. Are you? Paradise, where are you? Yes, I am. So he's asking where she's from, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget, they're in Vegas at this point. This is April 21st, 2022. If you wanted proof that Kira's in Vegas, here it is. I did find it. So Kira's here in Vegas at the Wynn Hotel, which is a very, very posh, fancy hotel. Very expensive, like crazy expensive. These people just spend money like water. And this is the photo that Preston sent my source. Yes, that's Preston, Hannah's ex-fiance. Hi, baby girl. Just getting time to respond myself. Let's grab drinks and show you what rough really feels like. Kira. So this is Kira texting from Preston's account. Could be, could not be. Asked her to share Preston's phone number. And she shared Preston's phone number. And then I corroborated that with someone who knew what Preston's phone number was. And they were the exact same number.
According to the whistleblower, during conversation that night, Kira stated that she and Preston had been together for 8 months. That single claim detonated the existing narrative. Counting backward from April 2022 placed the start of the breakup around September 2021, months before Kira and Oscar's private breakup, and during the period Kira later described as emotional disconnection. If true, it meant the relationship with Preston overlapped directly with her relationship with Oscar. The timeline grew more complicated when it was reported that Preston allegedly filed for divorce in April 2022. This placed his separation from Hannah squarely within the same window as the Vegas incident, and shortly after the public breakup announcement. If this is true, this just really questions the premise for why Kira broke up with Oscar in the first place. Remember, one of Kira's reasons for breaking up was the fact that she said she wanted to go see the world and experience what it means to be single again. It would imply that Kira has been cheating on Oscar and Preston has been cheating on Hannah all this while.
Said, like, she asked, do you get jealous of him and all that kind of stuff? And Kira said this, according to my source. Well, not really, because I was the other third person before this. She said those words. I was the third person. And so now I'm together with him and I'm not the third person anymore. And so I don't really get jealous. But we did this and it ruined my friendship with his, for all intents and purposes, his fiance.
I think this now brings a particular clip to mind.
Oh, I just got it.
Say it.
You can't. If it started, okay, let's say that Oscar cheated on me and got with this woman and then they got together. She would know in the back of her mind that he cheated on me. I hope she realizes she's not above that.
Yeah,
like he
like
could possibly cheat on her too.
Yeah, like you're cheating with somebody in a relationship
Yeah.
and they're willing to cheat on that person. So
why wouldn't they cheat on you?
Why wouldn't? Yeah,
and you
they
can
do
think
that
you're a
too.
diamond in the rough, but go to therapy, get out of your mindset, because that's not true. None of us.
Sometimes there's diamonds, but not that often.
Well, we're all diamonds, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't, if somebody's willing to cheat on somebody else, I have a hard time believing they wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
Like really cheating. I'm talking about like you actually went and slept with somebody else while you were like married to another person.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. So anyways, luckily that's never happened to me, but it does make me angry to think about because I've seen the effect that it takes on people, and it.
Anyway, according to the third-party source, Kira admits to being the third wheel at some point, but she developed feelings for Preston, but those feelings graduated and they became a full-blown couple. What we don't know for sure is whether the other person in the threesome was Hannah, her best friend, but that's what's being implied.
Was likely having a relationship with Hannah and Preston in September, and could have been before that, which means that they were cheating. All of them were sitting there behind Oscar's back, having threesomes behind his back.
Well, this pretty much looks like there's some sort of connection, especially since Kira says her kink is watching her partner be with another person.
Have we ever been interested in swinging? No. I'm not interested in another guy at all. In fact, my kink, and the reason why threesomes happen for us is because I like watching him with her.
By mid-2022, it became clear that Hannah Hawker had not been operating within the same information as the public. According to accounts discussed after the release of the Dad Challenge podcast video, Hannah reportedly did not know that Kira and Preston were involved until the allegations and evidence were made public. The revelation did not come through a private conversation or a direct admission, but through that external expose that laid out timelines, screenshots, and claims she never had been given a chance to process privately. For many observers, this detail shifted Hannah's role from passive bystander to someone actively kept in the dark. Once the information surfaced, the friendship between Hannah and Kira collapsed completely. Any remaining public interaction stopped, and Kira later confirmed that they were no longer friends. As speculation intensified, Kira broke her silence in December 2022 with a public Instagram statement aimed at reclaiming control of the narrative. In the same statement, Kira attempted to contextualize her behavior in the January breakup video. She explained that her smiling, laughing, and detached demeanor were the result of emotional suppression rather than indifference. According to her, she coped by shutting down emotionally and using humor as a defense mechanism, which she said caused her to come across as heartless and unrecognizable even to herself. In the post, she denied cheating on Oscar outright, insisting that while their relationship had serious problems behind the scenes, infidelity was not the cause of the breakup. She acknowledged that there had been multiple near breakups in the past, and framed the end of the relationship as the combination of long-standing issues rather than a sudden decision driven by someone else. Kira also directly addressed the accusations surrounding Preston. She claimed that Preston did not leave Hannah for her, distancing herself from the collapse of their engagement. According to Kira, the end of Preston and Hannah's relationship was separate and unrelated to her own involvement with him. She stated that she and Preston had been dating since March 2022, a timeline that directly contradicted the claims made by the Vegas whistleblower and is one of the most contested points in the entire saga. While the statement was intended to clarify and calm the situation, it had the opposite effect for many viewers. The explanations did little to resolve the timeline discrepancies, and instead highlighted how much information had been withheld or reframed only after exposure. By the end of 2022, the narrative had fully fractured. Hannah was gone from Kira's life, and every denial was now measured against evidence that Kira no longer controlled. In all of this, the only person who seemed to care for the kids was Oscar, who abruptly took on a single dad role while she discovered herself. And after 8 months after the breakup video, on July 31st, they released what was their last video on OKbaby. The title was OKbaby is Coming to an End.
I think it's time we make it official. Yeah, we've got a couple things coming up. We're getting ready to go our separate ways as much as we can. Pretty much the only thing holding us together is the kids. OKbaby is coming to an end. I think we got the plan is to make 2 more videos. This is gonna be our final season. I mean, it's been kind of our final season.
3 episodes.
Yeah, it's been our final season. We're just trying to make it official now.
Well, the first thing you might notice in this video is that, unlike the past videos where Kira was doing all the talking and even talking over Oscar, this time Oscar was talking more and setting some things straight. Did the recent allegations and drama contribute to them ending the channel? We may never know, but this brings tears to Kira's eyes as they talk about the end of OKbaby.
No, it's what's best. And that's why we're doing it ultimately, but I think that it's been dragged on, if you will, when we both have known it's probably going to come to an end for a while.
Yeah.
But because it's definitely not easy, I mean, this has been, besides each other and our kids, this has been the biggest part of our life.
However, the close of OKbaby doesn't mean that both of them were done with YouTube. Not at all. They both already had their own channel with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. That video really showed where Oscar and Kira were mentally at the time. Oscar looked done. Not in a dramatic way, but in that quiet, exhausted way where someone just wants to move on with their life. He was clearly ready to focus on more important things like building himself back up, figuring out his future away from OKbaby, and raising the kids. After the split, Kira continued posting family-style content on her own channel, while Oscar took a different route. His content became less about family and more about him, his growth, his mindset, how he was navigating his life after everything that happened. At this point, you'd think the controversy surrounding OKbaby and Kira in particular would finally die down. The following year, however, Oscar brings Kira onto his own channel, where the two of them sit down and answer questions directly from their audience, again.
Number 1. How do you feel about Kira's new boyfriend?
Ooh, that's a good one. I was definitely shocked at first. It was definitely an adjustment. A little, I wouldn't say it caught me off guard.
But kinda.
Yeah, but definitely. It's just weird because of who it was. Truthfully, if she dated anybody else, I wouldn't care.
Oscar surely handled this with grace and some level of maturity. But the next question makes it seem like Kira was still doing some damage control to her image.
Number 2.
Any regrets on how you handled the split?
I think every breakup is gonna come with regrets, and especially in the sense of how things are handled. There's really no perfect way. I do kind of regret how I handled things online, actually not kind of, a lot. I do feel like that I was trying to pretend I was okay when truly I wasn't, and I should have accepted and not embraced, but just been okay with having emotions at the time. And then also, I think I should have given you more space and not tried to be friends right away.
Yeah, I could see that. I regret the way I acted out of emotion towards the end of our relationship because I saw it coming. Lashed out a few times. I hate that I did that. Wish we went to therapy. The minute you started having those feelings, I wish you would have told me. We could have tried going to therapy. I would say, for those of you who are feeling any sort of way towards your significant other, let them know immediately. Seek therapy. Try to fix it as soon as possible and nip it in the butt before it becomes an overwhelming feeling that you can't escape anymore, you know?
While she may be making an effort to fix things, for many longtime OKbaby viewers, it might already be too late. From the time of the breakup to this moment in their story, most of the attention and backlash have been centered around Kira. But you might be wondering, what about Oscar? What has he been up to through all this? Well, on August 1st, 2023, Oscar uploaded a video to his own channel titled The Story of the Broken Me, and that video gave viewers a very different perspective on how deeply all of this really affected him.
Alright. I'm done playing the part. This is a hard video for me to make, and it was truthfully uncomfortable. I like making happy videos, and obviously this one wasn't. But I felt the need to make it so that I didn't feel like those emotions had power over me anymore. I wanted to get them out there, just let them be, and that way I could start being myself again. Like, carrying all that weight all alone for so long, it was just heavy, and I was pretending to be somebody I wasn't, and it was tough. I'm hoping that now I can just go back to being 100% authentic. I felt like I was holding things back, and I hate it. I just love being an open book, and I love just being me, and I couldn't be me with all these feelings. Glad I waited to tell everyone until I at least had most of it figured out. But now it's just back to getting to work on them. And like I said, I'm doing better, but still got a long ways to go.
In it, he spoke candidly about the emotional toll the separation had taken on him. He described a prolonged period of grief marked by confusion, self-doubt, and a sense of disorientation after losing not just his partner, but the life structure he had known since adolescence. Oscar said he felt empty and lost, trying to make sense of how the relationship he thought he had could end the way it did. He talked about slowly working through that pain without the constant pressure of performing for an audience. The video came across as honest and unpolished, and many people felt it showed how deeply the breakup had affected him, rather than how protected or detached he might have seemed online. As time passed, Oscar began to rebuild his personal life more quietly. He entered a new relationship with a woman named Addie, and when the relationship became public, the response was overwhelmingly positive.
Guys, that thing is a raging bull out here in the lake. It's literally like the rodeo version of surfing.
Addie was well received by the audience, and Oscar was widely viewed as having found peace after a prolonged period of emotional turmoil. The narrative surrounding him shifted from loss to recovery, with public sentiment largely framing him as someone who had endured betrayal and come out the other side with dignity. While Oscar's recovery unfolded gradually, Kira's personal life moved at a much faster pace. In July 2023, Kira announced her engagement to Preston. The engagement drew immediate hate due to the timeline and the history connecting all four individuals. The relationship's progression appeared rapid to the public, especially in light of how recently multiple long-term relationships had collapsed. Later on, Kira would reveal that the wedding date had been moved up, and by January 2024, Kira and Preston were married. By this point, the contrast between Oscar's slow inward recovery and Kira's fast-moving new chapter had become a defining feature of how audiences interpreted the fallout of the OKbaby collapse. In May 2024, Kira announced that she was pregnant with her fifth child. The announcement immediately reignited controversy, not because of the pregnancy itself, but because of her own documented history discussing why another pregnancy should never happen. Besides that, Oscar's vasectomy became a focal point again. What had once been presented as a mutual health-driven choice was now reframed by critics as a sacrifice that ultimately benefited Kira alone. Many pointed out that Oscar underwent the procedure at a young age, under the understanding that Kira could not safely carry more children, only for her to later conceive with someone else. As criticism mounted around the pregnancy, another long silent figure finally spoke. Hannah Hawker re-entered the public narrative in 2024, not through interviews or direct accusations, but through symbolic and carefully curated actions. She launched a GoFundMe campaign asking for help covering matching tattoos she shared with Kira. The campaign framed the tattoos as painful reminders of betrayal and heartache, describing the cover-up not as cosmetic, but as an act of reclaiming her identity and closing a chapter that no longer served her. The response was immediate. The goal was met quickly as supporters rallied around her. Alongside the GoFundMe, Hannah released a diss-style poem inspired by Kendrick Lamar's Euphoria. In it, she accused Kira of betrayal, manipulation, and false narratives. She referenced loyalty, broken trust, and the collapse of girl code, framing Kira not as a misunderstood friend, but as someone who knowingly crossed lines. One of the most striking claims in the poem was a reference to a $20,000 loss, which many interpreted as financial damage tied to the relationship's fallout, whether from shared projects, wedding expenses, or emotional destabilization that carried material consequences. The poem resonated widely, especially because it contrasted sharply with Hannah's previous silence. Rather than vague statements, it presented direct language and unmistakable intent. After the poem gained traction and the GoFundMe surpassed its goal, Hannah closed the campaign and removed the poem from public platforms. She announced that she was ending the chapter and intended to move forward. The timing made it clear that she had said what she needed to say, not for prolonged attention, but for closure. By mid-2024, the narrative surrounding Kira had shifted again. After years of placing their children at the center of their online identity, Kira and Oscar quietly changed course and stopped showing their children's faces on social media. For the first time since the channel's creation, the kids who had once driven thumbnails, storylines, and engagement were partially removed from public view. But not long after she said that she would stop posting about her children, she uploaded an entire vlog centered about one of her kids, even putting the child's name and age in the title. Even though she clearly put in the description that she'll still be keeping her children private and stated that this particular video is only a one-time thing and she would continue to keep her children's lives private. That one-time thing happened again and again. This just goes to show that she really wanted to show her kids and maintain OKbaby. But there's only the K for Kira without the O for Oscar. The collapse of OKbaby exposed how easily children become collateral in influencer economies built on intimacy and access. By the end of the saga, the most lasting consequence was the realization that the real cost of family vlogging is paid by the people with the least agency, the children. When the adults finally stepped back, the damage was already done, leaving behind an example of how easily childhood can be traded for clicks.
It became stupid, and regardless of how long it's been, it just came like so clear and so stupid of me not to do it. I felt like I'm stupid if I don't do this.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing this
You would
girl.
have been.
Yeah. Basically anything I want, you have.